Hello, everyone. You're looking here at an article that is out of the Columbia Daily Spectator, volume 5687. It's a very old article that dates back to March 2nd of 1933. It is not an easy article to get. Um, and of course, one of the writers for the newspaper was James L. Ogle. And then, of course, they knew the McMahons. Um, But this is about actually Wikipedia caught lion. And we're going to show you how Wikipedia is caught lion and what that particular Columbia Spectator article has to do with covering up the history of the Nazi Party and why I got banned. Now, of course, the Nazi Party headquarters was called the German Workers' Party, and it was disbanded October 10th of 1942. But we're going to talk about the American Nazi Party, and they're going to tell you that the American Nazi Party is a neo-Nazi political party group that was founded by George Lincoln Rockwell. Now, understand that even in the FBI vaults, that George Lincoln Rockwell was quite well known as a very active leader in this party. And of course, they went by the Whoopins or whatever, World Union of Free Enterprise National Socialists. So this is a different kind of thing to look at. And this party is based solely on the ideals and policies of Adolf Hitler's Nazi Party. So this is very interesting article, even with Wikipedia, but they're leaving something out. And as you can see, they put down here in the notes here again, they give credit to George Lincoln Rockwell, and they said it was founded in March of 1959 and dissolved on January 1st of 1983. And of course, it was succeeded by Matt Cole, Rocky Sahadia, who I guess restarted it, and then a new order under Matt Cole and Martin Kerr. So what's interesting is in Arlington, Virginia, right by the FBI. Headquarters not far from, of course, Quantico. So this is just why. Oh, wait, hold on a minute. So I wanted to show here that I got banned by Berean Hunter, out of all people. So I guess he's probably a Christian guy with the churches, considers himself to be a Berean. And he banned me, my IP address, when I haven't even really been on Wikipedia to change anything. And I don't really consider Wikipedia that great of a source. I don't use it in legitimate college papers or anything like that because people can change it around and they can manipulate the information. But we're going to show you why Wikipedia isn't just not always the best source of information. And this is one in particular. So they will tell you that Rockwell founded the American Nazi Party in 1959. And we're going to go back to that Columbia article. And we're going to go to Columbia Spectator, I guess. And since we know the date of that article, we're going to... and we have Nazi praises Hitler regime. Other speakers score Chancellor. So this is the one that we want to look at. Again, you have to be very specific to get the article. So Nazi praises Hitler regime. And we're going to enlarge this. And we find out who the real head of the American headquarters of the Nazi Party was. What? There was an American headquarters of the Nazi Party in the United States on March 2nd of 1933. And it's not Rockwell. It's somebody by the name of Karl Imhoff. Outlining the Nazi program, Mr. Imhoff declared that Hitler's anti-Semitic campaign is being waged against the destructive spirit run into German culture life by Galician and Polish Jews. So they blamed, immoral beliefs or whatever on the Jews. But which is really ridiculous because if you are a Christian, I guess there's a lot of Christian sects out there, but if you consider yourself a traditional Christian, basically more in line to the Orthodox belief, general Christian teaching is that all of humanity is fallen, not just Galician and Polish Jews, and are basically evil by nature, of their own natural, given. They're just born that way. But that's beside the point. And it says here, Bella Lowe, a lecturer at the Rand School, defended the social democratic position against the criticism of communists, asserting that if there were a really united front of workers, Hitler could be overthrown immediately. And of course, Hitler was a very wicked, evil man. Most of history documents what he did. Not only did he exterminate Jews, but he also exterminated gypsies and anyone that got in his way. And so the history, as far as the evil of Hitler, isn't not covered in, of course, the Wikipedia article. But I want to point, so I'm being banned by Berean Hunter, who obviously isn't a very good Berean, and can't find a Columbia Daily Spectator volume 56, number 87, article dating back to March 2nd of 1933, that they can't include Karl Imhoff either in the Nazi Party information, nor can they include, or will they include, actually they banned me for trying to update this when I found the article. And of course, like I already showed you before, James Ogle is on there. I know a Diana Ogle, and I know a Edward Imhoff. And this Edward Imhoff and Diana Ogle attended a school called Toby School with the Philbrook Center in the state of New Hampshire, in the capital city of the state of New Hampshire, in Concord, New Hampshire. Now, am I saying that Edward Imhoff is a Nazi? Not necessarily. But he is a relative to Karl Imhoff, and that Karl Imhoff is not his father. I don't know if he's a grandfather, great-grandfather, but I do know that they are relatives out of Wisconsin. All right? And I know that Edward Imhoff also was a former caretaker over CIA operatives. And so that would tell me that Edward Imhoff is likely a Nazi, or in line with an agenda with the government of the United States and other agencies. I will put it that way. So this is basically in line of an affidavit that I had acquired through the former New Hampshire, both a senator and also governor, Judd Gregg. And that that affidavit was probably part of a ledger file. It might have been a psychological operation file. I am uncertain of that. But it involved the birth father of my child, who was only with forcibly for 3 or 4 months because of the relative of Karl Imhoff, Well, partly so. Can't blame everyone for everything else. But I didn't have anywhere to go. I was forced to be with this man, and I ended up being um, pregnant because of that forced relationship, which makes it rape, by the way, usually in most states. If you take someone to a place where they can't go and then you keep sleep depriving them until they, whatever, then that would make you a rapist. Certainly using coercion. And I did break up with him after that experience. Um, and he has caused untold problems nonstop, all the way up to the United States Supreme Court. That Thomas Aaron Clark apparently testified against a Brian Chabot, who was involved with a group of either neo-pagan or Satanist groups, like the OTO. I did not know Brian Chabot. I had never met him. Of course, Thomas Clark was involved in these kinds of things as well. But this is not about that. This is about the fact of basically Wikipedia and, of course, the terrible Berean not including this in the history. And we're going to show you some of why probably they won't allow Karl Imhoff to be exposed as a Nazi. Karl Imhoff is credited to the Imhoff tank. As an inventor. And of course, he was called a German engineer, a chamber suitable for the reception and process of sewage. It may be used for the clarification of sewage by simple settling and sedimentation, along with anaerobic digestion of the extracted sludge. Now, I'm not knocking, inventions for the processing of sewage. And of course, this is an old invention. And again, we're going to see Karl Imhoff is not mentioned at all as being any Nazi. But we do read in an article that he was indeed a Nazi. And of course, he settled in Wisconsin, if I'm not mistaken. And again, we have Berean Hunter blocking me from any updating of this material. It's legitimate material. It's legitimate information. I wonder why. I guess he's not a very good Berean. And we can even read more on Karl Imhoff here. Again, he was a German civil engineer. But what we leave out, interesting, he lived up until 1967, which overlaps the period of George Rockwell the claim by Wikipedia that he founded the American Nazi Party. And of course, we know from that Columbia article that Karl himself was at the headquarters, a part of the headquarters of the Nazi Party in America. Yeah, there was a Nazi Party in America. How come we keep that one out of there? And that was during World War II. How come they weren't arrested? Instead, they came up with Project Paperclip. And decided to take in some of their doctors and God knows whatever else in this country all the way back in 1933. That's pretty, so anyway, yeah. No mention of him being a Nazi. Somebody doesn't want you to know about that history about Karl Imhoff. And again, look at this. You can go here and with Wisconsin Wastewater Operators Association. and the history of the technology, who was an inventor. And I'm not knocking anybody inventing stuff. That's not what this is about. But do you trust a Nazi to invent your sewage system? Of course, modern sewage systems are updated now, so they're not. Um, and of course, the hop tanks are very deep and construction costs are high. But you can read more about it. I am not an expert in sewage sludge treatment. So anyway, but he was an early inventor for the hop tank. And I'm sure that Edward Imhoff probably gets some royalties or whatever for that invention. And this is in Wisconsin. But you can go, and again, you'll never hear any mention again. This is Azu Water, who mentions again the Imhoff tank. But no mention that the inventor himself was actually a Nazi, despite the fact that we do have a record that Karl Imhoff not only was an inventor, but also the head of the American Nazi Party. Yep, he was from the American headquarters of the Nazi Party. Interesting. But no mention of it on his inventions. And Wikipedia bans me for bringing that up. So Mr. Berean Hunter isn't a very good Berean hunter. Now, we can go to Facebook and we can say, well, hey, and he took his stuff off the internet, if you notice. But I have a previous video up. I did make a mistake that Colin Imhoff was his father, but that's not exactly accurate. So I know his full name though, because I know Edward Francis Imhoff. And this is a different Ed Imhoff. I guess he took his stuff off the Facebook. So we might have to go to my old YouTube video and we'll show you what he looked like on YouTube. And I actually did a video called Nazi School. Old article. It is very difficult article to. And this is an old one. There he is. This is Edward Imhoff. I actually know the guy. And he pretended to be my friend, but he's not my friend and he never will be. So now you see why Berean Hunter has banned me from updating anything on Wikipedia regarding Karl Imhoff. Because God forbid, he's at the Baptist Bible College and went there in Springfield, Missouri. And he went to Monona Grove High School up in Monona, Wisconsin. And as you can see, he removed his Facebook channel because he's probably been exposed for the snake that he is. And we're going to go back again to another little, like I said, I had an affidavit that was acquired at Judge Gregg's office involving Mr. Thomas Aaron Clark. And of course, Mr. Thomas Aaron Clark testified in a case involving a Brian Chabot that was tied to some neo-Nazis and KKK in the Hillsborough Dragoons militia, which I had nothing to do with. I was in high school at the time. So I thought had nothing to do with me. Until I found out about Mr. Edward Imhoff. Like I said, the article is hard to find. And this is called the Bubba Effect Affidavit. Now, Edwin Imhoff was a caretaker over CIA operatives. So this is the affidavit I'm talking about here. It's called the Bubba Effect. I don't know Brian Chabot. I've never met him in person. And you can see me talking about it a little bit here in the video. Alleges that I was involved with this militia group, which would have been impossible because I was in high school when the event occurred without a license. But I thought it originally had nothing to do with me, at least not with the direct event. And none of the people like Fitzhugh McCrae, I don't think I know him. And this is interesting, Fitzhugh McCrae. This is another one that I did not know anything about either. I did at the Toby School have a friend through the Friends program in Concord, New Hampshire, by the name of Barbara McCrae. Barbara McCrae, I think, eventually married into the Beaver family. She remarried. I've not spoken to her since an event that occurred. A lot of the students that went to Toby School, Diana Ogle went there. And of course, Diana Ogle married Paul Clark, the brother of the person who is in this affidavit. So this is interesting because you have we have conflicts of interest. So I don't know if it's Sue McCrae. And of course, even if I knew if it's Sue McCrae or McCraig, it does not mean that he had anything to do with Barbara. A lot of people have the same last name. There's lots and lots of people named Clark. Doesn't mean every Clark member is, of course, involved in this. But what I'm pointing out is that this could have to do with perhaps more like a psychological operation, maybe for media or for policies with the U.S. Supreme Court, because I'm finding out Clark is also related to Brett Kavanaugh, who's recently appointed. So this is stuff that they're doing to manipulate people. It looks like, but I don't know Brian Chabot. So this is just really the only thing that I could think of when I had found out about the history of Karl Imhoff was it had something to do with this, maybe. this article. And anyway, so that is Wikipedia right there. So apparently Mr. Berean Hunter is not a very good Berean, because that history really is there. So that's why we're doing a second video on it.